In this video, I will demonstrate how to create a source reference. There are essentially three ways to do that in rootsTrust. One, from a new source. In other words, you are creating a new source and making the first reference to it all in one operation. Two, from an existing source. The source object was created at an earlier time and now you are adding a reference to it. And three, reusing the last source reference in this session of rootsTrust. This only works if you are referencing the same source as you did the last time you created a source reference in the same rootsTrust session. You get a copy of the last source reference and you modify the reference portion to conform to the task at hand. In the case of a book, you would simply change the page number. Once you exit rootsTrust, it forgets which source you last referenced. If you are an experienced rootsTrust user, there is nothing new here, except that now you are able to choose between the simple legacy format of rootsTrust version 1 or the new, more sophisticated template-based approach. While the legacy format is easy to use, the one-size-fits-all solution does not always do justice to the source you are attempting to reference. This will become clear to you when you watch the video that deals with converting legacy source references to template-based ones. I have established a fictitious person in my database with the unique name of John Smith. I have added birth, marriage, and death events that all need source references. So now I will create a source record for a fictitious book and then create a reference to that source to document John Smith's birth information. I've chosen a book as a source since it is the least complicated source type, possessing the GEDCOM-defined source attributes of title, author, and publication facts. Since the book is not in my source list, I will use the option to create a reference from a new source. Referencing new source. The reference form opens up displaying the legacy template by default. So all I have to do is fill in the blanks. The title is The Life and Times of John Smith. The author is Aloysius J. Smith, Jr. And the published facts are Akron, Ohio, Acme Publishing Company, 1978. I'll change the source type to book and come up with an abbreviated name of source. I'll use Smith, AJ. So that's it for the source part. Now to the reference part, where all I need to do is add a page number. His birth data is on page 7, so I simply enter page 7, and I'm finished. Okay. Now that I have the source record created, I can add a reference to his marriage event by reusing the last source reference and changing the reference part to page 8, where the date and place of his marriage are recorded. Reuse last reference. So we get a copy of what I just created. I simply change the page number to 8 and click OK. I could create a reference to his death event using the same technique. However, let's assume that this is a new day and there is no last reference yet to reuse. So I create the reference from an existing source. Reference existing source, and I type into the navigation field, I type in, and there it is. So I select Smith AJ, and you can see the source fields are filled in. Now I just have to supply the reference portion of this, and I will enter page 43, where his death information is recorded, and I'm done. Oh, I could specify a certainty here. Secondary evidence. Okay. Now I'm going to stop recording so that I can undo what I just did. I'll delete the source and the 3 references to it. When I resume recording, I'll recreate the source and reference for John Smith's birth, but with a non-legacy template. I will not repeat the exercise for the marriage and death events because only the source creation is different between legacy and template-based source references. Creating references is the same for both. Okay, I'm back with a clean slate. Now I'll create a source reference using the new reference source command, just as I did for the legacy source reference. This time, however, I'm not going to use the default legacy template. Instead, I click on the template button, which causes this form to be displayed, which has a hierarchical tree of templates arranged alphabetically by category. Then I open the book node, where you can see that there are a number of options. I select Book Basic Form 9, 9 being the template ID. This template is slightly more, let me load it first. This template is slightly more detailed but better labeled than the legacy template that we used in the last exercise. The subtitle field is optional since not all books have a subtitle. Later you will see that there are 2 types of citations that can be generated from any template-based source reference: a full citation and an abbreviated one. These citations are used in narrative and curriculum vitae reports generated by rootsTrust. The optional short title field is typically used in abbreviated citations where the full title is very long. The other fields are self-explanatory thanks to the use of meaningful field labels. The certainty combo box is present on the reference part of every template because the GEDCOM specification calls for it. So, source references imported from a GEDCOM file could potentially contain certainty values. Notice that the source and reference portions of this form contain tabs that can house supporting material such as documents, multimedia files, notes, websites, etc. This is the same for legacy source references and template-based ones. Only the information in the description tab of the source information panel up here and the details tab of the reference information panel down here differ between legacy and template-based source references. These tabs, for the most part, are there to provide features that are defined in the GEDCOM specification, with the exception of the websites, which is a rootsTrust extra. The actual text tab contains a large text box that supports enhanced text such as bold-faced, underlining, italics, highlighting, etc. You can use this to store a copy of the actual text from the source that you are referencing. I'm going to fill in the fields now, like I did before. We don't have a subtitle. We don't need a short title. That title is short enough. The author. And okay, Akron. Acme Publishing Company. And 1978, abbreviated source name. Page 7, certainty, secondary evidence. If I display the Citations tab and execute the Generate Citations command from the command menu, rootsTrust will generate the citations I referred to a minute ago. Each legacy template contains citation templates used to generate these citations from your data. In all of the source reference videos, I contrast legacy source references with template-based ones. Strictly speaking, even legacy source references in rootsTrust version 2 are template-based. However, they always use the same template which simulates rootsTrust version 1 source reference maintenance. That concludes this demonstration video. Be sure to watch the video that deals with converting legacy to template-based source references and vice versa. Thank you.